What's up, Squadron? Aviation has given me a ton of amazing experiences. And more importantly, it's introduced me to a whole new family of friends. Join us tonight because we're cleared direct for some hangar flying. I'm Ryan Dembroski, and this is SuperAero Live. What is up, AvGeek, Nerd, SuperAero Squadron friends? So excited to have you tonight. You can see everyone's filing into the chat, and I'm gonna skip just all the BS I normally talk about. Just get to the interview as soon as I can. But guys, it's a really special episode tonight. Make sure that if you're watching right now, you share it with everybody. It's kind of rare, thanks to current situation and stuff, that we would even get access to our guest tonight. So definitely just share it. And then if you're into chatting afterwards, there's a little group of us on Patreon. Those folks, we do a little debrief afterwards. Would love to have you guys come hang out. We mostly talk smack about other YouTubers. It's probably not the most productive conversation, but it's fun. Anyway, I want to dig in right away because everyone, check it out. I got to figure out how to work my keyboard. Oh, I'm nervous. All right, I've got Maj Michael Brewer's here, a.k.a. Thunderbird 3. Holy cow.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you. It's great to be here.
Dude, it is great to have you, and I gotta say, first of all, and we said this before the show as we were getting ready, but your background over there and mine are very different.
Yeah, it's kind of my, it's kind of my office slash, the room I like to go to that's got all the cool places that I've gone to and the things that I've done throughout the military and civilian career. So. We kind of like to call it the I love me type wall. That's what my wife likes to call it. So that's what I call it.
I don't know if I have permission to have a wall like that. So you're ahead of me. Yeah, there's nice. Look at all that cool. You got all these patches. You got model planes and stuff. It's super awesome. Totally jealous.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I try to have a little section for each little chapter of my life as I've gone through. I even have on my wall over there my very first paycheck I've ever gotten as a pilot. The magic day where you switch from paying money to fly to making money to fly. So I've got that over there on the wall. It's a $15 paycheck for being a flight instructor, and I think the frame was like $50 or something like that. So there's been a couple times where I've wanted to break the glass and cash that check, but luckily it's still sitting happily on my wall.
That's awesome. So we have so many things to talk about tonight because you're teeing up all the transitions for me already. You have a very interesting career that I want to talk about, and it's one that I think all of you at home, if you're a pilot or an aspiring aviator, that you might find relatable. Might be something that I know it certainly resonated with me when we were talking. I gotta say hello to a couple people in the chat real quick. Red Baron's here. Steph Strickland's here. Steph.
Oh yeah, hey Steph.
Rico's here. Full Disc Aviation's here. Zach Sherman. Airmac, you're I think in England. So good evening or good morning. Marty's here. All the gang Experimental Aircraft Channel. There's too many of you to say hello, but thanks so much for joining us. Wolf Pilot, how's it going? Sarah McCalvey is here. Just a lot of names that it's good to have everyone. Anyway, let's dig in. Okay, so I want to go actually let's start here before I get too geeked out on your career path. We got to talk a little bit about what you do now. And I'm wondering
Yeah.
Should I just show you guys sent me a video? Can I just play a video of what you guys do? All right, I'm going to play a video about
let it right out of the chute right away.
All right, boom. Get everyone pumped up. that's a little intense. That's just your
that makes me
day-to-day.
excited every time I see it. Every time I see it, I still get really excited about it.
I'm like super pumped. The other thing I was thinking, whenever I see you guys fly, I think about there's an old Van Halen song called Dreams.
Yes, yeah,
and there was like a music video, and I don't know if it was the Thunderbirds were flying F4s at the time or something. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's in the video.
Deep cuts.
I
deep
think
cuts.
Yeah, I can't. There's also a actually, so throw out to the Blue Angels out there, but yeah, there's actually a video made from the Blue Angels, I think back in the '90s, that I watched over and over again, and Van Halen's Dreams was one of the openers of that video. So I remember watching it was on a VHS tape, and it just showed like kind of a quick behind the scenes. It's like a 45-minute video, and I just remember like that was just so such an intense video. Something that really just got you pumped up and excited to watch it, and really thinking like, how in the world do they do this? That's really what I thought every time I saw that. But yeah, I remember that song being part of the part of that video.
It always pops in my head, even when I see you guys. I've totally abandoned my script. We should start at the beginning. I gotta know who you are. What do you do? People can tell by the uniform, but gotta hear it from you.
Yeah. So my name's Michael Brewer, Major Michael Brewer. Go by Thorny. I grew up in Chicago, Illinois. I graduated from Lyons Township High School in 2001. Loved living out there, had a lot of friends, really enjoyed it. Got into aviation when I was really young. So, long story short is, I was really blessed when I was younger, when my mom took me all over the place to show me what different professions did and what jobs did. And you're in the Midwest as well, right? So
Yep.
What I always lead off with is, what was really exciting to somebody growing up in Chicago in the 90s, like iconic and, in the sports world, in the 90s, like was Michael Jordan, right? And the Bulls and everything. Remember all that? And so during that time, man, I was hooked. I wanted nothing to be a basketball player. That's it. So my mom sent me to basketball camp and all that. But and she showed me, a bunch of different professions that were out there. And one of them was a pilot. And, so when I was doing the whole basketball thing and the camps over the summer and all that, my dad was a private investigator, and he traveled quite a bit for work. And I'll never forget, he was on a trip in Shreveport, Louisiana, and my mom took me out to visit him, and I was on a United Airlines Boeing 727. And when we landed in Louisiana, I got to go up to the front of the cockpit. I sat down, I saw all the switches, and I was like, this is amazing. This is what I want to do. This is awesome, And we leave the airplane. I said, Mom, I want to be a pilot when I grow up. She's like, yeah, okay, yeah. You want to be Michael Jordan and B.J. Armstrong and Scottie Pippen and all that, and now you want to be a pilot, So it's like, oh, sure, what are you really going to be? That sort of thing. And but the thing is when you're young, it's easy to buy a basketball hoop and practice to shoot hoops, but getting into aviation, which a lot of your viewers can probably appreciate, getting into aviation isn't exactly a simple thing. It is something that people get really passionate about and want to do, and it's stuck. And probably like a lot of your viewers, it stuck with me, and it latched real hard. And I was probably about 9 or 10 at the time, and I wanted to do nothing but fly. So I was really lucky. I got to do an introductory lesson. They took me to the airport to do an introductory lesson for my birthday. I got to do a Young Eagles flight as well, which was awesome. And then my birthday is in August, and in Chicago in August is the Chicago Air and Water Show. So every year for my birthday, I went to the Chicago Air and Water Show. So every year I would watch, the Thunderbirds, the Blue Angels, Sean Tucker, all the big names. I would watch them, and I loved it. And it was just one of those things that just got me super pumped to do it. And so when I was able to solo when I was 16, I had enough hours, which was awesome. And then when I was 17, sure enough, I had enough hours to get my license. So I got my license when I was in high school. Yeah, it was awesome, And the high school I went to, super lucky. I had a high school that had a phenomenal aviation program as well. So it was a small aviation program. Yeah, it was a very small aviation program. It was part of the applied arts type thing, right? And you learn very basic type things, but part of it was you could go with the teacher who was also a flight instructor and go do a couple lessons. Lyons Township still has that same program now, and it's grown by leaps and bounds. Phenomenal program. So I got to fly with them as well, and then that all kind of led to, okay, well, what do I want to do when I grow up? And obviously, be a pilot was the forefront of it. I have no real prior military in my family. My grandfather on my dad's side passed away before I was born. He was the only real prior military that I had on my side of the family. And so it really the military thing wasn't a prevalent thing in my life, except, of course, for the air show. So I ended up going to Embry-Riddle in Prescott, Arizona. And while I was there, I got all of my licenses and certificates and all that, with really just the sole purpose of the track of wanting to be an airline pilot. Yeah, that's perfect right there. After I graduated from Embry-Riddle, I was a bank mail pilot. So flew Part 135 bank mail around for a little bit. We also did high priority packaging, so air ambulance type stuff. Did that for about 6 months, flight instructor for a little while as well. And then I actually got hired on by the airlines, and I was a Dash 8 first officer and captain, a CRJ first officer and captain, not a captain, but a first officer, kind of during the recession era, transition to CRJ. And then while I was flying, the airline pilots are out there know that every time you leave the hotel, you can't leave without your coffee and your USA Today, right? So I'm sitting up there reading USA Today and just reading all about the things that happen in life. And I tell everybody there's a transition, especially when I talk to high school students. When you are in your teens and your 20s and you're in college, the whole world is surrounded and revolves around you. It's all about what you want to do. It's all about your job. It's all about the things that you want to do. And that's not bad. You're really worried about the things that you want to do in life. And then something kind of happens in your 20s where your world just opens up. And no longer is your life just about you. You probably understand, right? With children and family and all that, your aperture just opens up. And one of the 100%. Things was exactly. And one of the things was I felt like I could do more with the talents that I have and the things I can do and that sort of thing. So I thought about volunteer firefighting and that sort of stuff. Just something to have a cool story. I loved flying, but I was like, when I'm Grandpa Brewer, I want to be able to my grandkids on my lap be like, when I was your age, I was doing some cool stuff, and this is what it was. Yeah. And so that bug kind of hit. So I started looking in the Guard and Reserves pretty heavily. I flew in jump seats a lot with former fighter pilots and tanker pilots and all that. Sure. And I said, if I'm going to do this, let's try it out. And so I talked to my wife, and the Guard Reserves turned into active duty. And we said, if we're going to do this, we're jumping in head first. We're going in all the way. So we did. We signed up, and it's moved us all over the place. Over the years, I've gotten to fly the F-15 Strike Eagle. I've gotten to it's
there we go. We got to get like the cool fighter pilot picture in there.
There you go. Yeah, so I got to fly the mighty Strike Eagle there. Phenomenal. And the kind of the backstory is on that. When I dropped, when I did my fighter drop, and I put together my dream sheet, I really joined the Air Force to fly C-17s, to be honest with you, or KC-10s. That was really the top of my. Yeah, going to Embry-Riddle in a school that's really centric on the crew environment and heavy aircraft and that sort of thing, and not going through ROTC or the academy. I was really into the crew concept, and when I joined the Air Force, I had 4,000 hours of flight time, so it was all crewed environment. So I thought that's where my natural talent would be. Well, when I got into the formation phase at pilot training, and you're flying airplanes close to each other, it's like it snaps. You're just like, whoa! I can't believe this is legal, for one, and two, it's I can't believe that I can actually go and do this. So. That's when I talked to my wife, and we made the decision together to say, hey, you know what? If we're gonna do this, let's try this fighter lifestyle thing, and let's see if we can give it a shot. And I talked to some prior folks, some mentors that flew fighters in the past, and they gave me some great pointers. And we decided that if we're gonna do this, let's do it. Let's try not to leave any doors unopened. And I was lucky enough to get fighters out of the deal, and I really wanted the Strike Eagle because you kind of get the best of both worlds. You have a crew environment, you got a pilot and a
Sure.
Wizzo. Two engines. I definitely like the two engines idea, especially when you're taking it into combat. And so I really got the best of both worlds to fly that. And then when the applications started coming out for the Thunderbirds, year after year, I would just keep looking at the applications and just being like, wow, that'd be really cool. That'd be really cool. I never really thought that I would be able to do something like that. And one year I looked at the application, and sure enough, I met all the requirements that were on there. And I said, why not give it a shot? Again, had the conversation with my wife, and together we said, you know what, let's give it a shot. All the worst they can do is say no. And lucky enough, I got the phone call, and here I am. So that's the story of how to get here.
We need to write a novel. That's incredible. I mean, that's an incredible story. That's an incredible,
Yeah,
and you've clearly you told it very masterfully.
It really goes to say, I'm nobody special. Everybody says, oh, you must be super talented and God's gift to aviation and all that sort of stuff. And I'm going to tell you right now that I'm nobody special. I am every average person that's out there. I went to the Chicago Air and Water Show as a kid, just sitting there looking at the airplanes and watching them. And my only dream is someday that I can, doing what I'm doing now, that there's some kid that's out there, and I can't wait to meet that kid in 20 years from now and stand in line and get that kid's autograph and be like, I was the guy who was flying that airplane. One of the cool things about the team now is we have a pretty strong alumni association, and I talk to some of those folks actually quite often. And I've been able to go back throughout the years and shake the hands of the pilots that I watched when I was a kid, and I've got to tell them face to face and say thank you, thank you for doing what you do, because it wasn't at the moment where I said this is what I'm going to do with my life, but it planted the seed, and eventually that seed grew, and so pretty much what I like to tell people is I'm not anybody special. I'm just somebody who happens to be at the right place at the right time with the right talents, and that's the thing is. When you are given, when I tell kids when they're at school, do the best you possibly can, because you never know what opportunities are going to be there. You want to take advantage of the opportunities that you get, and don't leave doors unopened. It's always see what's behind there, because you never know where it's going to lead. I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that, Michael Brewer, who went off to Embry-Riddle in 2001 to be an airline pilot, was going to somehow navigate the channels and end up in the Thunderbirds.
So, I mean, I was excited to talk to you about for a number of reasons, and we're going to nerd out about the Thunderbirds probably for the rest of the show, right? But I think that part of it is really exciting to me. We were talking, I think we had another air show, one of your colleagues, Toro, the Viper demo pilot, was on.
Yeah.
And I was talking to him. He was very totally open when he was talking to me. He's like, dude, I have zero general aviation experience. He's like, I just boom, I want to be a fighter pilot. Went and did that specific thing. And that, when I was first talking to him as a general aviation dude, that really surprised me. Now I get it, right after talking to him, I get it. But I think that's your story of, it's not as linear. So I think that's really inspiring, right? That you could have that moment, right? I remember that, we're basically the same age. I remember probably around the same time you were thinking that, I was thinking I'm going to go be a firefighter.
Right. Yeah.
Because my dad was a firefighter, and go ahead.
Yeah, and that's really the thing. It's you may think that you have to be this person, or somebody's driving you to be this person, or when you grow up, you're expected to be this person, right? And that's not the case. That's not true. There's so many different things that are open and available to you. And just you have to take the opportunities that are there in front of you, and what you think and feel today is not going to be what you think and feel tomorrow. So it's very important that today you set yourself up for tomorrow. And you never know where your path is going to take you. And really, it's so cliche, but life is not about the destination. It's about the journey to get there. So everybody, a lot of people say, oh, you're a Thunderbird, where could you possibly go from here? What is that? And I just say, you know what? It's a stepping stone. It's I don't know what my next move is going to be, or where we're going to go, or what adventure we're going to go on. But I do know that my family and we're going to go on this adventure together, and we're going to enjoy every step of the way. Thunderbirds is not a destination. It is not the identity of who Michael Brewer is. It's a stepping stone along my path, and the way a lot of us think about our positions are, everybody knows this uniform, right? So everybody knows this patch, everybody knows Thunderbird 3 and that sort of stuff, but we only occupy this uniform for 2 years, in some cases. Sure. 3 in COVID years, right? So, but we only occupy the uniform for a couple of years, and really our only goal is to take the uniform, take the brand, take the number, and make it better. So take it from what you found it, make it better so that you can leave it to the next person who can hopefully make it better for the next person after them. And I get people all the time at air shows saying, I've been watching you since you were flying T-38s in the 1970s. And I'm thinking, dude, I wasn't even born in the 1970s, but they recognize the uniform. And that's the key. This job, and what it represents is not about me. It's about the patch. It's about the uniform and what the uniform represents to the next generation of people that are out there, but also the older generation that comes out to air shows and just, they become a kid again, and they be able to watch and relive things and memories from their own childhood. And really, we plant that seed of inspiration, not just into the younger generation, but into the older generations as well, as they come back and they kind of relive some of those childhood moments.
Absolutely. And I think, sorry, I was reading the chat and I got slightly distracted. I have some questions I want to ask you, but I think you said the thing about like, we're only here for 2 years, and it reminds me, there is a certain persona that you're putting on, not a persona, you're you, but when you put on the uniform, Thunderbird 3, it's almost like you're the caretaker of that, I mean, like what you guys do is superhuman, in my opinion. So you're like the caretaker of this like superhuman idea for a couple of years, right? Right.
Exactly. Yeah. And the Thunderbirds team right now, right? So right now we're the 2020 team. We're the stewards of the patch right now. But the Thunderbird brand, the Thunderbird mission, everything that the team stands for, we're just a small piece of this team. This team's been going on for decades. And, I'm very lucky to know a lot of the people who have come before on this team and know how much, blood, sweat, and tears they put into this. So this team does not represent, the 6 demonstration pilots, the 8 pilots in the team, the 12 officers, or the 130 total team members. The team does not represent that. It represents the thousands of people who wore this patch before us to make the team what it is today. And it's our responsibility to take care of it so that it's around in the future and make it bigger, better, and have more impact.
Someone in the chat just said, and I'm trying to find it so I could pull it up. This is a friend of ours on the show. Here, let me pull it up here. He says, guys, an inspiration for youth. That's 782 Papa saying that. I would agree. I mean, yeah, I think it feels like, I guess what I'm saying, if I could paraphrase, it feels like you got into it for the right reasons, right? Like, I don't know if there's a wrong reason, but like, it feels like this job, this mission of the Thunderbirds is for you about trying to bring that passion and that strength to kids and other folks.
Yeah, and my and we're a very diverse team. All of us have different backgrounds. We have different passions, different things that drive us. I love aviation. I grew up in aviation. That's what drives me. That's what motivates me. What aviation in general, in the broadest sense, what aviation did for me was really the drumbeat throughout my life. It was kind of the theme throughout my life. To bring me to here. I hope that aviation can do the same thing for somebody else. It helps drive you make the right decisions. It helps motivate you. It gives you something you're passionate about. And I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but for those of us who do this for a living and who make money doing this, we just thank our lucky stars every day that we get a paycheck for doing something we absolutely love to do. You know, so not very many people, I shouldn't say not very many people, but a lot of people don't necessarily do that, and they just go to work for a paycheck. And most of us in aviation go to work because we truly enjoy what we do. So going to work's not actually going to work. You know, I've never worked a day in my life.
That's awesome. There gotta be some bad days, but we don't need to talk about them.
Yeah, you know what? I will say this though, you know, because I'm sure there's you know, some other military pilots on here, or some airline pilots or something like that. And you know, I've flown over 60 different types of airplanes, both in GA, military world, airlines, and that sort of stuff. And I will say there's always a shiny jet somewhere, right? And I will also say that an airplane's an airplane's an airplane. And when you do it for a living, you know, you can go and say, you know, it was the greatest airplane in the world, and then you can get bored with flying it after a little while or whatever. And that's totally normal. And then it's very easy, so easy to start complaining about what you do. You know,
Sure.
Oh, I don't get enough days off, or, oh, I don't make enough money, or, oh, my schedule's terrible, or something like that, right? It's always easy to do that. And, you know, I've definitely fallen captive to that, where I'm thinking, man, I got to get up and got to go do this. But you have to remind yourself, one, how hard was it to get there? Because it wasn't easy for any of us. And the other thing you have to remind yourself of is, you know, this is so special. It's not something that everybody gets to do. It's the best office on the planet. And I remember waking up for some pretty crazy early morning flights, you know, when you're taking off and the sun's still down, and rising when you're taking off into it. But I've sat up there at, you know, 30-something thousand feet and watched the sunrise and you know, and chase the sunrise or chase the sunset. And it's truly one of the most, you know, beautiful moments ever. And how do you, you know, and like I said, you get paid to do that. You get paid to sit there and really just witness something that thousands of others wish they could. So you know, this profession is a truly unique profession in that most of us in this profession do it because we truly love it.
So that's a good segue to a question that just popped up in the chat, and I was actually wondering this too. Gary Smith asks, do you still get excited about general aviation after flying with the Thunderbirds?
Absolutely. I actually even now, I get thrilled to fly general aviation. People ask me all the time, say, hey, what, if you could get any airplane, what would you get? Would you buy yourself an F-16? You know, would you
just on the open market?
Yeah, you know, on the open market, you know, that sort of thing. Go fly L-39s or something like that. Go get a Pitts special or whatever, you know, or go fly an extra and that sort of stuff. And which is great. I've flown an extra. It's phenomenal. I've flown a Pitts. They're phenomenal. I love them. They're great airplanes. But what would Thorny buy? I would probably get myself a Luscombe, to be honest with you. I'd probably get myself a Luscombe, or, you know, like a Cessna 140 or something like that. Because that to me it brings nothing but pure joy. You know, take the doors off of this airplane, take the windows off the airplane, fly around at a couple hundred feet, and you know, at 80 miles an hour, and that's truly flying. You know, all I need is, you know, a cork float in the fuel tank and you know, a whiskey compass, and we're good to go. You know, or nowadays, you know, I have my iPad with a ForeFlight on it or something like that. But you know, that to me is truly the joy of flying. And sure, I absolutely love flying the newest technology that's out there, the fastest airplane that's out there. I truly enjoy that. But I get tons of enjoyment out of just flying, you know, low and slow, and just, you know, hand propping an airplane or something like that. You know, that to me is still truly joyful to me.
I mean, there's a guy in the chat who makes fun of me, but I say it like literally every episode. Like I did my training in J3s. You're like, I feel like we're like Sky Bros right now. Like, yeah, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. Like getting the tail up.
They say, what's one of the most memorable flights you've ever done? And one of the most memorable flights, like, you know, I ferried airplanes for a little while. I brokered airplanes and ferried them for a little while I was doing the airline thing. Just, you know, a little side hustle before a side hustle was a thing. And I picked up a Rand's Coyote from Prescott, Arizona, and I flew it to East Texas. Now, a Rand's Coyote's got a Rotax engine in it, The dude put it together in his garage, and I took it off of his driveway, off of his farm, and watched semi-trucks pass me on the road. I took one of my buddies with me and flew that thing. It took like 3 days, maybe 4 days, all the way to East Texas. And we made it a point that we didn't land anywhere that had a paved runway. So we looked everywhere that had nothing but dirt or grass and somewhere to get some gas, which didn't have a very big gas tank. So we were doing that fairly consistently. And I tell you what, when we would land at some of these random, small airports with grass strips and all that sort of stuff, you meet some of the coolest people on the planet. You meet, Jim Bob, the farmer out there, who's got like a Stearman and a half of a Spitfire in his hangar or something. You meet some of the craziest people that have just living history at some of these airports. And you're not going into these fancy multi-million-dollar FBOs or anything like that, but you're really meeting some like grassroots aviation type folks. And that was probably one of my most memorable trips I've ever done.
It's interesting to me that, but not surprising, that your aviation career can have like two totally opposite parts of it. And I get it. I personally, I've never flown in an F-16, or an F-15 for that matter, or anything like that. But I get it. I keep looking at, so it's funny, I'm going to switch. I feel like if we don't start talking about jets a little bit, everyone's going to leave. They're going to be like, let these tailwheel nerds go off into their vintage aircraft corner. I came here for fast and loud. But
yeah.
So I got to tell a little story. There's a buddy of mine named Brandon. We went to grade school together, and we used to sit and argue about which fighter was the best. I was the F-15. I was big into that. I even have the toys still for inspiration on my desk here.
Nice.
He was the F-16, right? So whatever. You've flown both. So Brandon, by the way, awesome dude, went on to fly like AC-130s, like super cool dude. We went to like a reunion, and I was like, oh yeah, I finally got my private pilot license. How you doing, man? And he's like, oh, I'm good. Like, I'm flying C-130s into Afghanistan.
Nice.
But you've flown both. I don't know if you can actually say this, but which one's better? Which one's the Thorny better?
I get asked that question all the time, and truly my answer is both. Both has its purpose. So, and I will tell you this: deploying in the Strike Eagle was phenomenal. I loved it. The way the airplane is built, having both a pilot and a Wizzo, for the operations that we were doing downrange, the Strike Eagle was a phenomenal platform, and I enjoyed every minute of it. The community of people that I met in the Strike Eagle are awesome, and some of my best friends in the whole wide world. It's a somewhat smaller community than the F-16. It's actually a much smaller community than the F-16 community is. We know each other fairly well throughout that community. So I loved it. So it's not just the airplane; it's also the community. But the airplane, I loved having two engines. It's a big airplane. It's a 70,000+ pound airplane when it's fully loaded. It can carry everything in the Air Force inventory. It's got tons of capacity, and it's phenomenal. It's huge, which for a fighter, it's pretty big for a fighter. So it definitely had its pluses. And I tell you what, having two of those motors back there when you hit the afterburner, it's a lot. It's a lot of thrust. The F-16 is phenomenal to fly in these air shows. It is great. The thrust away ratio on the F-16 is greater than 1-to-1. And so for example, when you watch our shows, we do a loop on takeoff, right? We essentially take off in formation. As soon as we get to about 90 degrees nose high, boss will call burners out, ready now. And we actually pull the throttle back as we're 90 degrees nose high and continue pulling the throttles back as we roll through inverted. If you do that in the Strike Eagle, you're going to fall out of the sky, or most every other airplane that's out there. So one of the hardest parts for me to transition to was actually pulling power back as we're pointing straight up. So, the F-16 is like a rocket with it's like a pencil with a rocket motor on the back. You point it somewhere and you go like this, it's going to go there. The other thing, the fly-by-wire system on the F-16 is great. The F-15, you fly through different buffets. You can completely stall the aircraft. So you'll pull right past the critical angle of attack, completely stall the aircraft out, and you'll get to, you'll blitz from 400 knots to like 50 knots in a matter of a couple seconds, where the F-16 is more like being on rails, like a train on the rails. When you just pull back on the stick as hard as you can, and as soon as you do that, it's gonna dial up as many G's as it's gonna give you, but it's not gonna sit there and buff it as it makes the turn. It's just gonna continue to do that because it's not gonna really let you stall. You're just going to keep holding the stick back until you essentially run out of G available, and then the nose is just going to start coming down. And that's a very, very distinct difference between the two aircraft. So both aircraft, phenomenal to fly. Both have their strengths that are individual than other strengths. If I was going head-to-head with another airplane, like a dogfight style type thing, then sorry to my Strike Eagle brethren, but I'd probably want to be in an F-16 because that sucker can turn in a hurry. But if I'm going kitted out to go do like a deep strike interdiction type mission where I'm going like deep into enemy territory where I want to fight my way in, drop a whole lot of bombs, and then fight my way back out, then I'm probably going to take the F-15.
I think it would be cool if you could actually just pick. Now that you know both, if you were like going into combat, you could just be like, this one today, this one today.
Yeah. And I tell you, it would completely depend on the mission too.
Of course.
If they said, hey, if this is what your mission's going to be, then I would definitely have a preference of one over the other one.
We of course started a fight in the chat about which one is better, but the one that Red Baron Modeling says, the name's just cracking me up. Says, didn't the F-15 shoot a satellite? That should mean it wins.
Well, so again, the F-15. So you have to also look at the biggest differences between when we start talking thrust to weight. When you take a clean airplane, right? So like a clean F-15E Strike Eagle, for example, you take the CFTs off, the conformal fuel tanks off. We're talking with that airplane, with all the fuel tanks that are on there, you're carrying, 33,000 pounds of fuel on board. That's a ton of weight. So you start stripping some of that weight off. You take away some of the 2,000 pound munitions that are on there, and you just put like a couple missiles on there, and you take off the external fuel tanks and all that sort of stuff. You are going to have an extremely powerful aircraft with a very high thrust to weight ratio, but you're going to not going to be carrying nearly as many munitions, right?
Sure.
So that's going to be your trade-off. And the same for the F-16. You can load the F-16 down to the gills as well. In the Thunderbirds, which is awesome. We fly the F-16 in a very non-standard configuration, which is with no pods on there, no external fuel tanks on there, no nothing. It's a completely clean F-16. So that's
some pictures while you talk about it, just so people can see.
Yeah, actually, that's a great picture to pull up because at that last photo, you can kind of see some of the pods that are hanging off the aircraft, right? So on the Strike Eagle, you can pull off all of those pods, right? But now you're taking away a lot of the combat capability of the aircraft. So again, it's a big trade-off of it depends on the mission that you want to do. Now the F-15 back in the day, the C model, not the Strike Eagle, but the C model did set the world record for time to climb back in the day. So, again, they're both extremely capable aircraft.
Ever the diplomat. But no, that's fair. Yeah. So I can't believe it. We're almost running out of time. We have to, you sent me some cool behind the scenes videos about, sorry, I was we were talking about F-16s. I thought I better put up a picture of the F-16s. You guys doing all this cool flying. But let me show a video. I was wondering if you sent me, I asked you what your favorite maneuvers were. And you said, I have these two videos I'll send you. And so these are from your just to tee it up a little bit, these are from kind of your vantage point in the cockpit. And so I thought what we could do is I could show it to everyone because there's some cool audio in there, and then maybe we could talk through it. Does that sound all right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah, sounds
cool.
Great.
All right, so this first one you said was the Clover Loop, I think. So I'll play
so
that
this
now.
Is,
go ahead.
this
Tee it
first
up.
one
Yeah.
Is this first one is the Clover Loop opener. So when you go to an air show, this is the very first thing that you see, the very first maneuver that you see coming out the chute. So we show up from behind the crowd.
Rock on. Okay, here we go.
Little power up. Stand by, blue out, ready now. Smoke is on, nose coming up, 430 right. On into 4, there's 4.
5 clear.
6 clear.
Full 20 X.
Identify. Good float. Little power up. Mine's on top, 96, 150, back in with the pull, left turn.
Stand by X. Let's tack now.
EP. Little more full, little power back. Smoke off, ready now. Ease and forward. Aircraft still up. 10 3. Right turn, little power back.
So, of course, the chat's going nuts. Wow, says Zach Sherman. Air Max like, nah, that is cool. Let me show it here while we are kind of like able to chat about it. Just to get a little bit of perspective from you. It's like what we're saying. I mean, everyone was remarking about how calm the boss is sounding. But what's it like for you in your seat through all this?
Yeah, it's, when Boss, we can essentially read each other's brains, like when Boss talks, we can hear the inflection in his voice. We can hear the different tones he makes and that sort of thing. It's very consistent. So it's almost calming, if you will. So, you're just watching the aircraft next to you. All eyes are glued on Boss there. And he's trying to project all of his movements. So he actually says it before we're actually moving, because that way we can actually begin moving the jet before to try to match the same rate that he is. If we were to just react to everything that we saw, that would be a big problem because you would just constantly see ripples and waves throughout the formation. So he just tries to project everything, and we know that when he says, for example, when he says nose coming up, I know what the pull rate is going to be, how many G's per second that build is going to be, and I know generally what, by the seat of my pants, what that feels like every single time. And I know that if he deviates from that a little bit, then I can expect either a faster correction or a slower correction based off of whatever I'm seeing outside. So again, I'm just trying to fly off of what he's saying, and then I'm just reacting to what I'm seeing. Hopefully flying all the actions that I take off of what he's saying matches what I'm actually seeing.
So the Flying Stampede says, dang, when I sing at work, I usually get called into HR.
Yeah, it's calming for us. If he didn't do that, I'll tell you what, it'd be pretty bad. I can let you in on a little secret. So we did a flyover of Oshkosh last year, right? It was a very quick. We just did a loop around Oshkosh essentially with our smoke on, and just before we went in to show center there, I had a comm issue where he was cutting out, and part of that problem was I wasn't hearing a lot of the comm that I would normally hear. So if you ever watch that video and just watch very, very, very closely, you'll see me on the right wing much twitchier than I normally am because I'm just basically going off of what I'm seeing and reacting visually as opposed to going off of what I'm hearing. So when you watch it, you'll see a lot more deviations in movement than what you normally would.
And I was joking with you that intro video that people see, there's some clips from a video I did with Steph Strickland, who basically makes everything happen in the air show world, apparently, where you guys are like, I think this is the same thing. Like, you were above me, like, turning and burning, and I'm like screaming and, you know, acting like a kid because it was so amazing. But that's really interesting. That's really interesting to hear that's how that would adjust for you.
Yep.
Some quick questions about that clip we just watched. Milano24 is asking, how does Boss know where you are? Can he even see you?
No, but he can feel us. So Boss, so this is where the whole trust thing comes in, right? My sole mission is to not hit Boss, obviously, right? Boss is trusting me to not hit Boss. So, but my trust in Boss is that he's not going to hit me or hit our formation into the ground or anything attached to it. So, you know, we fly very low, and we're hauling, right? So we put complete trust in the Boss that he's navigating everything. So, for example, in that video, you watch the world moving around and you see the jets staying in the same relative position. As far as I know, I don't know if I'm upside down or right side up. You know, my whole world is focused just on that little missile rail that's just right there, and that's the only thing that I'm really truly focused on. I'm not really paying attention to much that's going on behind that. So how low we are, how high we are, doesn't really affect me because I'm trusting where Boss is. Boss doesn't really care where we are because as long as Boss is going where he's supposed to be going, he knows that we're going to be where we are supposed to be. And that's where the training comes in. You know, just constant iterations of training allow us to trust each other and predict what each other are doing, all the way to the point where we know if somebody's not having a great day just by the way that they sound on the radio. Anyone
who's married knows how that works.
Yeah, very true. Just like that. Exactly right.
So we're right up against time in just a few minutes, and I want to make sure we watch this other clip because this was the other one you said was kind of one of your favorites. This is the trail to bottom. No, sorry, I read that wrong. Trail to diamond, bottom up. I can't read my own writing.
Yeah, bottom up pass. Yeah, trail
bottom
to
up pass.
Bottom up pass.
All right,
so the bottom up pass is where we show everybody the bottom of our jets. And we move from the trail formation, which is a fairly difficult formation, being stacked up on top of each other. And then right in front of the crowd, we'll move back into our diamond formation. So
just to this one, when I got the file from you, I watched it the first time, and I literally went, ooh. so we'll see what everyone else feels about it. We'll play this real quick.
Yeah.
A little more pull. A little more right, a little more.
Side edge.
Right there, let's do more.
8,000. 6,000. Solo's ready. Hit it. Pull out. And pull.
300 right.
6 clear. Got it, 5.
Ease forward left. Turn. 300 right. Ease forward back. Left. All the way. Little power back. Left turn.
Stand by. Let's test now.
Ready now. Pull. Set. Not right now. Go center.
Show center.
Off. Ready now. Right turn.
Show center.
Left turn. Right turn. Right rear head loop. Power.
Inverted. Inverted.
A little more pull.
Everyone in the chat's going crazy about that. And I think I told you there was a moment, the first time I watched that, there's that moment where you guys are kind of sliding together, and I went, ooh, like out loud, and my wife was like, what? And I was like, no, it's just like, it's close. Yeah. I don't know if there's anything we should say about that. I mean, why is that one of your favorite maneuvers?
Well, it kind of shows, it's actually extremely challenging, even though from the crowd, it doesn't look super complicated from the crowd. It's not a very complicated maneuver, but it's actually very difficult to fly. Now, actually, this video was shot when we were doing more of our training formation. So That formation that you're seeing right in the video is actually further away than we should fly for shows. Our show formation is actually our show formation is about 3 feet tighter than that for each wingman. So we actually have overlap during that time for the actual show. So this is just a practice sequence that you're seeing on here. But the reason why this is such a cool maneuver is this trail formation. Number 2, who's right on top of me. You have me, number 3, and then you have number 4, who's right underneath me. So we are truly just stuck in that sandwich. And this is where that trust, you talk about is truly important, because I'm trusting that 2 isn't going to ease into me. 4 is trusting that I'm not going to ease into him. And you really just kind of feel stuck in the middle of that sandwich. Meanwhile, boss is there, trying to fly as stable as possible. Now, we can actually feel the bow waves of each other's jets pushing each other's jets around. So as you get closer, you can actually push the jet that's next to you with your bow wave, and we'll feel it, especially with the tighter formations.
Sorry, I gotta laugh. Marty asks, how much would you charge to send videos like this to me at regular intervals?
Well, the good thing is that our social media feeds are pretty regular with videos like this. We try to debunk the flying a little bit, and we try to unmystify it, if you will. So we play a lot with optical illusions, obviously. We do a lot with we are flying really close to each other, but we're not. Our boss says it the best. We're not a daredevil squadron. We don't go out there and say, hey, hey kid, hold my beer, watch me go do this. We train very, very extensively for each of these maneuvers that we do, and we put them together in a very safe way to make us a precision flying squadron, not a daredevil squadron. So each of these maneuvers that we do, we make sure that we know every in and out of it. How do you get out of it? What happens if something goes wrong? We talk through every single contingency of every single maneuver to make sure that this is done safely, while at the same time wowing the crowd. So we take both into consideration whenever we're doing these things. We don't just make things up on the fly willy-nilly.
That was simultaneously the most reassuring and disappointing part about aviation in general for me. Like, as I entered, I was like, oh, we can't just go goof off. But at the same time, I was like, wow, it's a really good thing we don't go goof off. I have, go ahead.
This profession, pilots, all the pilots here, this is a profession. We are professionals. Whether or not you're a private pilot or not, it's not like you're going to go get a boat and you're going to go, jump on the lake and go, do a couple donuts in your boat. Flying is dangerous, but we make it inherently safe through practice, precision, and being professionals at our job. And it's very important that all of us take this professionally, because it's very easy for us to lose trust in the general public. All it takes is one little accident or something like that, one goof up, and you start losing trust of the general public very, very quickly. So, this is something as pilots we have that's very special to us, and it's very important that we take our jobs seriously, whether or not you're all the way from a recreational pilot to, an airline pilot.
Absolutely. Okay, we're almost out of time. I think I've said that like 5 times, but I feel like I could talk to you for another 3 hours. Don't tell your wife. We're not going to do that. Don't worry. But I want to get to a couple. I want to get to a couple quick questions from the chat, and then I've got like a little 40-second game for us to play. That's kind of a tradition on this show. So first, Matt Thiemann, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, Matt, says, how is UPT while having so many flight hours compared to others?
Oh, very different. The way the Air Force and the military does things is different than the civilian world, right? So I've been very lucky. I've been able to do both paths, civilian and military. The end result is generally the same. And just because something's different doesn't mean it's bad. The way you get there might be different, but you can't immediately say, no, that's wrong because I've been doing it differently my whole life. You have to be willing to accept other ways of doing the same thing to get to the same result. So that was challenging because I had to unlearn some things or just relearn to do something differently than the way I've been taught in the past.
Brock on. Okay, I totally, again, you are ever the diplomat, but appreciate Appreciate the answer. Here's another question. Sounds like someone helped you out over the Daytona 500. Red Turtle says, I'm a boom operator. I refueled you after the Daytona 500 flyover last year.
Oh, great. Awesome.
There's a question here about, do you ever think about KC-10? Would you go that way, guard reserve? I'm not. Maybe that question makes sense to you as a military aviator.
Yeah, going to the KC-10, maybe as a follow-on, in the Guard or reserves, and I absolutely have. I absolutely love flying fighters, and I love everything about that. But all the aircraft. If I could fly every single aircraft in the military inventory, I hands down would, just to get the experience and check it all out. So yeah, our KC-10 brethren that are out there, our 135 brethren that are out there. You guys are the reason why we can do what we do, because there's no way we would be able to do these air shows at this pace without the help of our AR folks doing our air refueling. So we love you guys. I was a tanker planner all year last year, and I got to work with you guys all the time. So my hat's off to you guys, because without you guys, there's no way we'd be able to do what we do.
That's so cool, and I like how we keep finding these little 5 degrees or 2 degrees of aviation tonight.
Small world.
One last question I wanted to pull from Instagram. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone. Where is it here? Okay, so it was from a student pilot, and I may have to paraphrase it. Is just advice for the future generation. I think. Okay, found it. What do you do when you feel nervous in the air?
You have to trust your training. And I tell this to folks all the time who are currently learning to be private pilots, instrument pilots, commercial pilots. It doesn't matter. The training that you do now, especially at the beginning, all your training really, but really your fundamental training, you got to take it seriously and do the absolute best you can, and don't do the minimum, because the better you train now, the more prepared you're going to be in the future for the random situation that you're going to see coming down the pipe. Really the way to break the nerves is just to trust your training. Every scenario, knock on wood, every scenario that's been thrown at me, I've been able to rely on my training or my wingman's training or those that I'm flying with. Remember, there's a whole world of CRM, right? Crew resource management. If you don't know something, somebody out there does. And there's so much technology now that's available to you as a pilot in the air, whether or not you're flying a Cessna or, a 747. There's so much that's out there that, you don't need to be nervous, because there's so many resources out there, but you have to know how to access them. Obviously the Hudson flight, Captain Sullenberger, when he landed in the Hudson there, that's obviously one of the ones that stick out to most folks. But that's it. You just got to be calm under the pressure, because the training that you provide are provided is something that you need to lean back on. But in order for that to work, you need to take your training seriously.
I feel like you're talking directly to me right now. Well, you are, but anyway. Okay, one last question. We're gonna play a game, and we're gonna cut you loose, because you've got a whole family to take care of today.
No, bless my wife. She's down there taking care of my kiddo.
So, all right. Jacob Lindsay, he said, I have to ask you this question because he's considering following in your footsteps. He said, what did you tell your parents when you said you were going to go into the military?
Oh, it's funny because I think my parents are watching right now. It's for some people, the military is a scary thing. My parents actually, believe it or not, had like a little mini intervention with me because the thing is, the military, there's so many different aspects of the military that are out there, but a lot of it's just unknown. What you need to do is do your research, know what you're doing, and know what you're getting yourself into, because there's a whole lot of different aspects of it. Some people think that joining the military is, you're going to be in the trenches, running around with an M16 and that sort of stuff. You're going to get deployed all the time, that sort of stuff. Yes, there is an aspect of the military that's like that. Yes, that's for a lot of people, and a lot of people love it. That's phenomenal. There's a whole nother aspect of the military. There's scientists in the military. There's a whole bunch of different jobs that are in the military. And We are just simply a cross section of the United States of America. So being in the military, I've been so lucky to work with some of the highest caliber professionals I've ever met before in my entire life. It's given me opportunities that I have never even dreamed about. It's allowed me to continue my education. It's allowed me to fly aircraft I never would have thought I've ever flown before in my life, and it's really opened up a lot of doors. So the biggest way to open the door of conversation with about the military with your folks are just be educated about it. Educate them about it. Educate yourself about it, and know what you're getting yourself into before you go and sign the dotted line per se. And the end cap of that is my folks love the fact that I'm in the military now, and they 100% support it. So it's a phenomenal career. It's not for everybody. I'll be the first one to say it's not for everybody. But it's a phenomenal path, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. For those of you who are in high school right now, who think 4 years of your life is a long time, I'm going to tell you right now that 4 years is going to go by faster than you can sneeze. And I've been in the military for 10 years now, and I feel like I just got in. So that would be my advice to anybody looking to sign up.
There you go, Jacob. He says, hopefully my parents aren't watching right now.
Yeah.
Well, if so, it's going to be easier to talk to them.
Yeah. You just got to open up the conversation and, and just really look at the paths there are, because there's so many of them that are out there. And that holds true in the civilian world too. Don't fixate and lock yourself into, this is what I have to do because everybody tells me I have to do it. There's thousands of different ways of getting to different places, and really, your path is up to you, and you are the person who's in charge of it, and nobody's going to tell you what you have to do because you are supposed to do this, that, or the other thing. You choose the path that's right for you, and make sure that you're having fun while you do it. Make sure that if you're married, those of you that are married that are out there, make sure you and your spouse make the decisions together, because at the end of the day, jobs come and go, careers come and go. The military, if 20 years in the military, you get a retirement, that'll come and go. And once it's gone, all that's going to be left is your family. So you got to make sure that you balance work and family, and make sure that your family's on board with all of the decisions. And it's not your decision, it's your family's decision. And you're going to love every step of the way, whether or not it's the military or the airlines or crop dusting, or banner towing or whatever it happens to be. As long as you do that, then I think that in general, you're just going to be happy in life, and that's I'm lucky because I love what I do, so I can say that.
I think that's awesome feedback, and I think that that's also excellent marriage advice. Super important, yeah. Especially with stuff like this.
Together for a little while now, so it's if wife's not happy, you're not happy, and if you're not happy, wife's not happy. It's truly a team effort, because this is not your job, it's your family's job. Your whole family lives this. People say thank you for your service, and you don't need to thank me, you need to thank my wife. That's who you need to thank.
To my wife, thank you for letting me be down in the basement. Truth be told, just gotta manage the kids just like your wife's gotta manage the kids. Okay, there's a ton more questions in the chat. I wish we had time for all of them. I think some of the answers, people are asking questions about when are you guys switching to the F-35s? I'm assuming that's classified.
That's way above my pay grade. So
the people are asking about where did Thorny come from. I'm assuming that's also classified.
That actually is classified.
Okay, let's play a quick game and then we'll cut you loose for the night. I really appreciate taking a little extra time to chat with everybody. So what we do in the show is we play a little game called Short Final. 60 seconds on the clock. I'm just going to ask you some simple one-word answer questions. It's not a quiz. I'm not going to ask you how the angle of attack indicator works on the F-16, although I bet you know that. So let's just, if you're game, we'll just pound through this, and then we'll see what's next.
Let's do it.
All right, cool. Let me put on you won't hear it, but I put in this dramatic music. Here we go. Okay, get the timer started. Thorny, what does a Thunderbird eat for breakfast?
Ooh, my favorite is a handful of fruit and a power bar if I'm going flying.
I was expecting to say like the Blue Angels, but that's cool too. All right. Favorite airport you've ever landed at?
Ooh, Meigs Field.
Everyone keeps saying that. I'm so jealous. All right. Favorite civilian aircraft you've ever flown?
Oh, the Luscombe.
Yeah. I've never flown, but I've always wanted to. Track up or north up?
Ooh, track up.
Okay. Very good. What about the favorite passenger you've ever had?
Dog the bounty hunter.
Wait, what? Okay, we're going to come back to that. What's the coolest thing you've ever done in a fighter jet?
Oh, fly 18 inches from another one.
I guess so. Someone in the chat wants to know pancakes or waffles. I'll entertain that.
Ooh, waffles. Strawberry
And then,
waffles.
if you weren't a fighter pilot, I think I already know the answer to this, but if you weren't a fighter pilot, what'd you be doing now?
I'd still be a pilot, but if I couldn't be a pilot, I would be a aviation instructor of some sort.
Rock on. I'll make you a deal. We're gonna have you on the show again sometime, and you're gonna tell the Dog the Bounty Hunter story.
Sounds good. We'll make it happen.
All right. Dude, I can't thank you enough. This has like blown my mind. This has been really cool, and obviously, like, you know what you could do is after the Thunderbirds, you could go be like a motivational speaker. Like, you've filled me with inspiration tonight, so I appreciate that.
Oh, good.
So, Major Brewer, thank you so much for your time. Everyone else that's been watching tonight, thank you so much for your time tonight and for being a fan of the show. Can't thank you enough. Make sure... I got to thank some other people real quick. Special thanks to Captain Nelson of the Thunderbirds and Steph Strickland for helping produce tonight's show. We had a lot of emails back and forth to get it to happen, and I really appreciate everyone's help there. And you guys at home, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe, share, all that jazz really helps the channel. And next week, be sure to tune in. We've got Savannah Rasky, the savvy traveler, who's an A&P at a not an airline pilot, a aircraft owner. She's in the Air National Guard, and now it sounds like she's on the F-35 tracks. We're going to learn about what that's like at the very beginning of that process. It's going to be awesome. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.